So what does Interact HRMS look like to the regular user? Let's go and hire a new employee and look at some typical HR processes from different angles. In order to hire a new employee, we'll start at the beginning on the main landing page after logging in. There we can look straight away at all things related to hiring and see leave-related KPIs. We'll click on the New button to start the hiring process. We will use the Quick Hire feature, which allows us to put a new employee in the system with one single form. That is the beauty of Interact after all, the seamless integration of all modules, because this one form is actually linked to many different modules. It links with job classification, organization management, employee groups, payroll, leave, contract management, position budgeting, and much more. So you can see when I put in basic info on this new hire, the system will suggest for me the appropriate compensation and deduction policies, as well as the relevant leave policies, which apply to employees hired in this group. If there is no exception to these default policies, then I can move through this real quick. That's the point of having a good structure and logic in your policies, so the system can do the work for you. Otherwise, I can handle exceptions on the fly here in this form itself. We'll add a picture and add this employee now. Now I can go and access the employee's Unified Employee Electronic Record. That record is still pretty empty since this is a new employee, so let me get another example instead. Her supervisor, Barbara. The electronic record contains all relevant information you would ever need on an employee that's captured from across the 80 applications. Everything is there in one place. For this employee, Barbara, you can see in the General tab all of her basic demographic data. But then we can also look at education, skills, experience, jobs. Note an employee can hold more than one job and Interact HRMS. Leave records, competencies, performance appraisals, career plan, training information, succession plan, and risks. You can see that in each case, you first get a summary, and then you can see the actual detail. For example, the education details here. There's another layer on top which takes you to the employee's job and compensation history, the work schedule and holiday calendar, the different timesheets, payroll details, and audit trails, but also emergency contact information, an unlimited number of addresses and passport, visa, and dependent information. At the end, we have a miscellaneous tab, where you can find a huge amount of additional information, which may be essential to track on an employee depending on the industry you're in. Behind each menu is a large amount of information that can be stored related to this subject if it is relevant to track this information. Keep in mind that employees can update this themselves through self-service, so that the HR department is not responsible for maintaining this information. HR can just review and approve the changes, and thereby remain in control of the data, while the employees ensure its accuracy and completeness. We have added this new employee in the system, so now we can look at the onboarding plan, also based on the settings we configured in the onboarding module. In this case, the system will give me the different phases and the tasks assigned to different individuals, who will be making sure these tasks are completed on time, and indicating which activities are predecessor and successor activities. You can monitor the status of each task, and you can see feedback on all steps of the way. The system can also send out email requests and notifications to initiate the process for obtaining security clearance, medical exams, assets, office space, badges, and much more. In addition, you can do many different appraisals during the onboarding process. Once the employee is in the system, we can log in as this employee using self-service. Now you see a different view, as this employee can now enroll in benefit plans, sign up for training, go through their onboarding process, and much more. In our case, we're just going to put in a leave request. Here you can see how an employee can put in a leave or time off request. When we fill in the form, we will submit the request. You notice we can put in a reason for the leave, attach a document, and then indicate which type of leave we are requesting and for how long. This can be in hours or days, depending on your setup. Once submitted, it will follow the chosen workflow. In my case, it is set up to go to the supervisor. When I log in as Barbara, the supervisor, you'll see I have a lot more activities going on. And as a supervisor, I can see the leave requests coming from my direct reports. And I will approve this leave request from Angela. I can also look at the leave plan for additional employees to make sure we don't have too many people's leave overlapping at the same time. Here you can see that I have the leave request for all my direct reports, or my department, or my team, and show which ones are set to go on which leave in this particular month. The leave codes and color coding is of course user-defined. While I'm here, I can also assign the employee to a day shift for the rest of the month, in case this is not done automatically based on my choice. Assigning shifts as per the predefined shift patterns can be done with a few simple clicks. Now let's log in as a payroll officer and enter a garnishment order. In this particular case, the garnishment order is going to deduct $100 every month for 10 months. In order to start payroll, I need to initialize the payroll first. This initializes any leave requests and HR actions, which affect the payroll because of their effective date. Interact HRMS allows effective dating of all key transactions, so this is an important step. Once this is done, you can choose to import a timesheet for this employee, load them direct from our time clocks, or, as in this example, I will generate the timesheets based on the standard work hours for this employee. Now that this is done, I will edit the same timesheet and add some 4 hours of overtime and a specific allowance on this day only. This allowance appears here because in my setup for this timesheet format, I chose to include this particular allowance. Note that Interact has more than 20 different industry-specific and fully configurable timesheets. Now that I have updated the timesheet, I will go and process the automatic timesheet for this employee's entire department. Here you can see that when you run payroll, you can run it for one employee group, or a selection of employee groups, or an org unit, and many other combinations. Let's look at the outcome of the automatic timesheet for this employee. The automatic timesheet is a step in the payroll process, which brings together all the current data in terms of pay policies, applicable hours and applicable pay rates for each employee, and calculates the resulting pay, deductions, and taxes. It has maximum flexibility and really is a great tool for you to be able to quickly edit for exceptions. These exceptions can be entered manually or can be uploaded from a spreadsheet. Once entered, they can always be found on an audit trail. You can see here now our employee has overtime, regular hours, etc., automatically included in this payroll run. Now, the next step is to run a trial payroll, which is easy with just a few clicks. This will give us the actual payroll and allows us to verify our numbers. The system gives us immediately a variance report to make sure we are aware of important variances. Next thing to do is to run the payroll detail report. Here you see that the filters for the reports are of course context specific. Many filters and parameters change and are unique, but one that appears in virtually every report is the employee group filter, which is another reason why this is such an important choice to make up front. The payroll detail report gives us every single payroll element for all employees, and we can of course export this to Excel. We can also run comparison reports, and if we find any mistakes, we can go and fix them in the automatic timesheet, and then run the trial payroll again, only for those employees affected. The same goes for the other trial processes available in Interact's payroll: the Trial Direct Bank Transfer File, DBT, and the Trial GL. All these trial processes are there to ensure that the user can see the near final output of all calculations, while still having the option to correct anything that requires correction. Only when you are 100% sure of all numbers will you go and process the final payroll, final DBT, final GL, and final payslips. What we just looked at was some of the normal payroll cycle in Interact HRMS. In addition to this normal payroll cycle, the product also offers a powerful off-cycle payroll process, a very flexible, retroactive payroll, and the payroll which is run for employees leaving the organization, the end-of-service payroll. Payroll can be run based on timesheets, but Interact also supports payroll run based on piecework, in which case timesheets are replaced with deliverable sheets. As always, the system can be set up as per the client's needs, whereby the deliverables could be the number of hours taught in a college by an instructor, or the number of patients treated by a doctor, or the miles driven by a truck driver, etc. Now, let's look at some examples of other modules in Interact HRMS. Earlier, we saw the setup of the Performance Management module, so now we can go and see the actual process. For Angela, the new employee that I hired just now, I can log in through self-service and start creating the performance plan. You'll see that the system has pre-populated this with goals organized in goal groups, and that I have another dimension for competencies. Both of these elements will be measured and weighed so that I can obtain a final score. In my case, I will go and create a plan as the new employee, and I will describe my key activities needed to achieve each goal, the target I intend to achieve, and by when I will achieve it. Once this is done, I submit to my supervisor, Barbara. Now you can see how Barbara plays a role in this process when she logs in. She can review and approve the performance plan against which I will be measured. Once it's approved, when the right time comes around, I will initiate the appraisal process, which starts with a self-appraisal. During this self-appraisal, I will be able to fill in all the blanks and indicate what I actually achieved by when I achieved it. I will score myself and provide a comment if necessary. Here's a fully completed appraisal resulting from this. This can be exported to Excel or CSV with a few clicks only. Here you can also see my current score based on my self-appraisal. Once I submit this appraisal, I will send it to my supervisor for their input so we can get a final score. The supervisor accesses it through self-service, like everyone else does, and she will be notified by email or when she logs in. In addition to the regular scheduled appraisals, you can also provide quick feedback throughout the appraisal period to an employee whenever you need to. We also offer very powerful budgeting solutions within Interact HRMS, which go far beyond the typical payroll budgeting available in some enterprise systems. Here you can see the payroll budgeting options, which give you the ability to create budgets for each unit or for each employee at the payroll detail level. You can see here that every pay element, every earning, allowance, benefit, etc., is tracked and can be used for budgeting purposes for the next fiscal period. But Interact has more than just payroll budgeting. With the Budget Planning and Control module, you have an Enterprise Budgeting module, which supports budgeting across all organization units and projects with the ability to capture feedback and comments on each proposed budget item. You can revise budgets and track multiple versions, see the variance between past and current budget requests, and send for approval to the appropriate users. We also have the Risk Management module, which offers an enterprise-level risk framework. If that is set up, you can assess risks, view the business impact risk matrix either in graphical form or in a table format, and based on this matrix, decide which risk mitigation action plans you need. Once these mitigation action plans are in place, you can do periodic reviews of the action plans to make sure the right people have executed on the activities they were assigned as part of the risk mitigation action plan. These reviews can be done by the appropriate risk committee members. If an employee is leaving the organization, the Interact HRMS software offers the tools to make the process as efficient and streamlined as possible, and to ensure that the company is in full compliance and employees have the best possible experience during this sometimes difficult period. The Offboarding module allows you to create exit interviews, track the handover of activities for certain projects, And it gives checklists to make sure that no step is missed, just like in the onboarding process, but this time for the opposite purpose.